Yeah, I guess it's about that time. If you've been around my channel for long enough, you may know one of my favorite brands of Thomas merchandise is Capsule Plarail. For the longest time, I didn't really take these too seriously, but eventually I started to collect them. And in the maybe year or so I've been doing it, I've managed to get quite a few. So today I thought it'd be fun to go through the entire thing currently, and give you guys a look at my ever-growing capsule collection. I thought this would make a good baseline for any I may get in the future. I was actually kinda hesitant to make this video since I actually have some in the mail right now, but figured we could cover those in other videos. As a quick note, we will only be covering characters in this video. You may see a few with rolling stock, but that as a whole, track pieces, destinations, will take a backseat to what I think the best part of Capsule is, the engines themselves. Unfortunately, over time, many have been used for projects, lost, stolen, so kinda like I said before, don't expect to see every single capsule I've ever had, more just what I have and am growing off of currently. So with all of that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for helping make these attacks right off. Political funny. And let's jump straight into it. Starting, of course, with our number one engine, Thomas. Now, coincidentally, my favorite Thomas and the Thomas I most often use does not wear the number one, or the color blue, but instead is this green LBSC Thomas that was given to me by a fan at Edison. This specifically is the 2016 variant without the CGI face and is a model I cherish. The combination of the green livery, the classic face, and the fact it was a gift really just make this one special. But I don't just have the green Thomas, I have a normal Thomas dated 2016, and a broken Thomas dated 2007. The Thomas in the back not only came to me broken, but also with a hat that I believe was ripped from an Oigawa Railway Thomas. And though he is broken, sits kinda funny, and can't be used, I still keep him because he's just kinda funny looking. I wonder what his story is and how he got that hat. Maybe they're connected. I also currently have one of the sparkly Thomases that is dated 2012. And that wraps up my current Capsule Thomas collection. Since we're talking about him though, and I know I said I wouldn't focus on these too much, but we're gonna do it anyway, I also have Annie and Clarabel. You can't have Thomas without his iconic coaches. And though there isn't much to say about them, I will say they nailed the expressions. If you couldn't tell from the cat hair, Putters also really likes these two, so count that as a double win. Moving on from that, however, we have our number 2 engine, Edward. Currently, I only have one Edward, and the one I do have is dated 2018. Admittedly, at first, I was skeptical about the Edward, but eventually realized I liked the James, and that doesn't make any sense. You can't like the James and not like the Edward, and busted my ass to get one, and I'm very happy I did. I think I had to give him a new chassis, but after that he served me very well, and has ever since. He's a squished boy, but a good one still. Next up we have another character I busted to have, and that is Henry. Unfortunately, like Edward, I only have one Henry, and the Henry I have definitely needs some new stickers. What I also find strange is my Henry Tender is dated 2005, while the engine is dated 2008. Oh, that's a 9. Ooh, 2009. But that is pretty common when getting capsules secondhand. They've probably gone through several owners before going to me. It also just makes him more unique, so I can't complain. Eventually, I want to get my hands on the Angry Henry to go beside him, or maybe replace him, but for now, I'm just happy to have a Henry in general. Believe it or not, he's hard to come by. I hate to say it, but currently the only Gordon I have is a Shooting Star Gordon. I say that because I literally have an Angry Gordon in the mail, but it wasn't here in time for recording this, so this'll have to do. And really, not to throw too much shade on the Shooting Star Gordon, for what it is a phenomenal toy. I'm more just excited to finally have a normal one. That aside though, this guy and his Tender are dated 2017 and have been my stand-in Gordon for quite a while. This may just be me, but I feel like it's a little bit faster than my other capsules, and for being a capsule, it is very well detailed. It may not sound like it, but I highly recommend it. It just unfortunately is my only Gordon as of now. Instead of showing you guys like 7 duplicate normal James models, I'll show you my favorite one. This is a slightly customized metallic James, which I use the most. This model is dated 2010, and like I said, is slightly customized to feature a black chassis, which as a modification is so small but does so much for the engine itself. You can't help but wonder why they don't do it themselves in the factory, but it is what it is. I personally use this one the most since I really like that metallic paintwork and I feel like it exemplifies that splendid nature James has, and also because I'm waiting on his angry variant, which will likely take the place of this one with a new chassis. But that, ladies and gentlemen, wraps up James. Speaking of James, I also happen to have a custom 2308 model, which began as a better James in the first place. The goal was to make a separate tender in open cab James, and eventually this devolved into making a Capsule 2308. Which admittedly isn't the most accurate, it does take some liberties, but that being said, it is my character, and well, it's a capsule, so I don't really give a shit. If you guys would like a more in-depth look on how I made him, be sure to comment down below, but I thought I'd throw him in here since he technically counts as a part of my James collection. Featuring his iconic fat face, a customized chassis, just a lot. We won't go into too much depth now, but be sure to let me know if you guys are interested. Now we move on to what could be the cutest capsule, Percy the Small Engine. The model I have here is dated 2010, and as a whole, Percy probably is one of my favorite Capsule Plarail characters. Proportions went out the window a very long time ago if you couldn't tell, but I'd say they got Percy more or less right. He's definitely a little tall, but how can you hate a short, stumpy that is Percy, that's awesome. They nailed the character and he's adorable, what more could you ask for? Chocolate on top? Well, I got you there too. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the Percy's Chocolate what the hell? Percy's Chocolate Crunch model, which is a push-along. He did come with a front buffer beam sticker and a front coupler, but I actually would remove both. Those for a project you'll see shortly, but for this guy, I'm tempted to maybe make him into a flatbed load? Maybe I can get my hands on a small chocolate factory-like building and make it look like a scene. Time will tell, I suppose. He's also dated 2020 if anyone cares. For some reason, it was so hard for me to get most of the Little Western characters in capsule form, and nobody personified this more than Duck. I spent the better part of a year trying to find just one model that was at least reasonably priced. For once, and finally that waiting paid off, when I finally found a 2002 push-along Duck for a very good price. I could have got the wind-up version, but honestly opted to not. For those who don't know, Capsule Plarail used to make motorized wagons that would push along the push-along engines. Personally, I'd much rather get one of those and have Duck stand out as the special engine he is. That, and after waiting a year, I really didn't care. I just wanted Duck. And thankfully, I got one. Only one as of now, but that's fine. Next up, we have my customized Donald, which beat up and stole Chocolate Percy's front coupler, plus moving side rods, since none of the twins models actually got them, and I thought they deserved them. It's such an easy improvement. But Donald is one of those Wait, Donald, is this the missing coach? Is that Donald? Dude, really? We don't like gatekeeping, come on. As I was saying, Donald is one of those characters I felt like I had to have. The Scottish twins in this range are not only adorable, but with some very simple modifications can be made almost perfect. Unfortunately, Donald is my only normal Scottish twin, as my Douglas was customized a long time ago. This Douglas has side rods and a motor so we can pull around Donald, but for a long time was the only Scottish twin I had. Because of this, I stupidly removed his number and nameplate, instead making him look like he had just arrived on Sodor, and eventually would add snow detailing to make him look like he was in the deputation. While this does make the two stand out very much so from one another, it's not something I personally look down on, it just makes him more unique. There's just something about seeing these two coupled up together, even if they don't look anything alike. The next item on our list is water, because it's fucking hot outside, and this saved my life between shots. Alright, stay hydrated, and none of that, ew, you drink the bullshit in the okay, it's water, alright, it's water. You know, they want a capsule collection video, so I said, fuck the heat. Shout out H2O, though. It's really been getting me through this shit. It's really... Hey, shout out to... It's really good. Finally wrapping up the Little Western is the 2011 release of Oliver, with the snow on top minus the top hat. Unfortunately, when I got this Oliver, he did not come with such. And more often than not, when you see me using him, he won't have the snow either, so let's go ahead and take that off. The best way to describe the Capsule Oliver is you didn't need to go this hard, but I'm so happy you did. Like, everyone talks about the Tommy Oliver, but this is so much better. It has printed detailing, freaking handrails. The only con mine has is I believe someone drew on Windows before it got to me, so those could be better. That aside though, Oliver is an amazing model, and I cannot wait to get my hands on another Toad and finally complete that little collection. I may extend that into CGI and get Ryan too, but I only really care about the classic characters, so I'm winning. Ladies and gentlemen, here we have Boko, specifically the Sparkly Boko from 2017. I do have a normal Boko somewhere, but I think Butters got him, so rest in peace. But Boko as a whole is a character I'm just excited to see in this range. Next to Diesel 10, I believe Boko is the only larger Diesel to ever be released. And to see him be re-released in 2017 when he definitely wasn't a big part of the show, like at all, is just kinda cool. Plus, he and Edward help to keep any layout I build very orderly, so it's very welcome. Probably the most confusing capsule, Bill or Ben. I think this is Ben, but yeah, either or. I currently only have one dated 2006, and why are they so big? These things are bigger than Percy. I don't understand. I know they had to fit the mechanism in them, but yeah, my confusion is basically what these models are, if you couldn't tell. Confusing, but cute, and I really want another one to complete them. Almost definitely one of my favorites, we have Capsule Plarail Lady, specifically the Sodor Island Party Lady from 2015, unfortunately missing the little bow tie that goes on her funnel. Lady is a character that I think translated very well into Capsule Plarail, and while normally I'm not a fan of the gimmicky things they put on the engines or their stickers, I have to say, for some reason, I really enjoy the banners on this lady. I feel like they don't really take much away and add to how special she is as a character, and how special it was for me to get this model, so really no complaints from me. Eventually, I would like to give her some golden side rods to really make her that much more accurate, but for now, she's just fine. For some reason, my Molly footage is corrupted, but she's here too. Yeah, right there. So I guess we're moving on to the Flying Scotsman. Now, this was the only form of Flying Scotsman Plarail ever released, and I feel like the people who were making this model maybe knew that and decided to go all in on what it is. You will be hard-pressed to find a more detailed capsule. Everything from the lamps to the front, to the decals on the sides, to the tenders themselves. You really can tell so much care went into making this single engine. I mean, the fact they even decided to give him 2 tenders, they could have just copped out and gave him 1. You can't see it in this, but each tender even has back detailing, so if you just want to run him with one, you can. And just like I'm about to realize in the video that he's off the rails, I just now realized I forgot to say when he released. He released in 2017 and is dated such. Yar me hearties, call the police, there's a crackhead smiling at me. Oh wait, that's Salty. And there have been many releases of the Capsule Plarail Salty, but this one is definitely my favorite. I just adore this face he has, as strange as it is. This Salty here is dated 2011, and just like Flying Scotsman, is surprisingly detailed for a capsule. Initially, I bought him to complete my Talkyard scene, but after getting him was pleasantly surprised. Basically, all of his detail is printed and painted on. I don't think there's any stickers that come with this capsule. Add that to the fact he has an accurate face and all around is just a adorable model. At that point, it becomes hard to beat. This is probably one of my favorite pieces of Salty merch to ever be released. Cranky? Not yet. Not yet. Soon. I promise. I promise. Motherfucker, don't make me come over there. Finally, we will tie up our standard gauge collection, not with a bang, but with a whoosh, with Connor. Specifically, the glittery Connor that came out in 2019, and is dated such. Connor was not a character I expected to get. If you guys remember, I actually got him in a surprise box. And while most of his detailing is done with stickers, which is kind of annoying, I have to say, this model is really pretty damn cool. On the stickers themselves, they managed to fit quite a bit of detailing, and once he's all put together, he looks phenomenal. I didn't expect to want to get a Caitlyn to complete him, but I really do. And hopefully soon we'll have that done. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, we move on to the narrow gauge characters, and let's go ahead and start with my favorite, specifically being Duncan, the 2004 variant. I actually have a few Duncans, and this one is probably the more lame one, seeing as it doesn't have side rods. But some of you guys may know and remember that a long time ago, there actually were a few Capsule Thomases in the US. And Duncan was one of them, and I used to have one, so this brings back a lot of memories. Plus everything from his face to the amount of detailing and pipework they managed to fit on him, it's all just so phenomenal. As you'll soon see, Capsule puts a special care into their narrow gauge characters. Kinda like this Rheneas here, that's dated 2008 and looks absolutely phenomenal. Sadly, at this point, I don't have a Skarloey, but one of the things I've always loved about this Rheneas is he's actually not the same color as that Skarloey. He's his own special color of red, just like in the show, and just like Duncan has a surprising amount of detail fit onto him. If any characters were made for Capsule Plarail, it was definitely the narrow gauge ones. My favorite narrow gauge capsule, however, probably has to go to my rarest one. That being Duke, the old engine, dated 2006. Now, Duke by far was one of the hardest capsules to find, and I say was because he was actually re-released this year. And right as I got one of those re-releases, I was surprised with the one you see here, the classic and original Duke. While the new one is a pull-along, this one is motorized. And one of my favorite parts about him is he doesn't actually come in a shiny finish like the other ones do, he is matte, which really helps him stand out from the others in the collection and also helps exemplify how special he really is. I plan to leave this Duke as is and make the other one a more MSR styled one. Be sure to subscribe for that if you haven't already, and moving on from Duke, we have another matte styled engine. I believe from the same lineup, but I could be wrong, we have Peter Sam, which I personally think is one of the best capsules to ever be released. Not only did they get almost every detail and proportion right, but the funnel he has is removable. I sadly don't have one of his other funnels, but say you do have the Giesel injector, you can just switch between that one and the standard one. This is dated and came out in 2008, and we have never seen something like that ever replicated in any merch line. His face may not be the most accurate, but that fact alone makes up for any imperfection this thing could have, at least for me. And finally, tying up our narrow gauge section, we also have Rusty, which admittedly I should not have saved for last, since I don't really have much to say about them. Some people say the face is based off of a slate truck, and personally, at least with this model, I don't see it. I will say it does look a little off, but that aside, every bit of detail on this model is phenomenal. Just like with every other narrow gauge character, they fit in more detail than they had to. This Rusty is dated 2002, and apparently is a bit more rare than other Rusties because it has silver or white buffers. And I only know that thanks to a comment from one of you guys, so thanks for that. It's probably best to keep him away from who I'm about to show you, who is... That's right, the fucking Boulder. Maybe the best piece of merchandise ever, just ever. And no, you are not hallucinating, he is on wheels. In probably the coolest move I have ever seen from a Thomas range, you can actually flip out the chassis from the bottom of him. He can be a ball, or he can be a motorized train killing machine. He's not rolling, you know what I mean. And while not the first Boulder we have ever seen, it's definitely the most complex and well thought out Boulder toy I think we've ever gotten. I try to keep Butters away from this one, I don't want to lose this guy. And now for a quick speed run of my other non-rail characters. Here we see a glittery Cranky from 2019, Bulgy, who released in 2005, which is definitely a favorite of mine because you can actually see the fruit inside of him. Capsule does what other brands doesn't, I'm telling you. A Bertie dated 2002, really I'm just waiting for the FBI to pick him up at this point, and a plated mail car dated 2004. And that currently completes the non-rail collection. I only have one figure, which is Sir Topham Hatt, shout out Marvin Jerry. And that, ladies and gentlemen, completes the extensive look at my current Capsule Plarail collection. This inevitably will be a long one, so shout out to you if you made it this far. I also want to give another shout out to my homie The Little Western for fueling this addiction even more, as well as to anyone else who's helped this collection get even bigger. It's only going to grow from what you've seen today, and if any of you guys are interested in Capsule Plarail, I highly recommend it as a brand. Personally, I haven't had this much fun collecting something since my Trackmaster days. So, like I keep saying, it's definitely fun if you want to try it out. Really quick, the biggest shout out goes to my patrons for making videos like this even possible. If you want to support the channel more, get a shout out in every video, and see videos early, be sure to check that out too. And I guess with all of that being said, ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the Thomas & Friends Capsule Plarail collection. As of now.
2 to the 1, from the 1 to the 3. I like good pussy. crazy and I like good trade. Smoke so much weed you wouldn't believe, and I get more
Either subscribe, donate, or get the fuck out.